Before we get started, I just want to remind you, after you read Chapter 12, Lesson 1, and watch this video reviewing Chapter 12, Lesson 1, go to Google Classroom and complete the Chapter 12.1 digital worksheet. After you complete the digital worksheet, be sure to check your answers so you can make sure you fully understood the section. If at any time you have any questions, please email me. Thanks. Good luck. Hopefully, you got through Chapter 12, Lesson 1 through the reading and understood it. The purpose of this video is to explain the lesson a little bit more in depth. So if you are having trouble finding where to read, remember, go to the Clever portal. That's www.clever.com. Also, if you're using your Chromebook, that blue box with the white C, if you click on that, just sign in. After you sign into Clever, click on the McGraw-Hill icon, and then launch your textbook there, and then go to Chapter 12, Lesson 1. So our essential question for Chapter 12, Lesson 1, what are the characteristics of a good leader? So we're going to be learning about two different presidents, John Quincy Adams and then Andrew Jackson. So as we read, as we review, we want to learn about some of the things that these two presidents did that makes them good leaders. So why does it matter today? Well, during the Jackson era, the American democracy expanded and our modern political system began to take shape. So there's going to be a couple things like nominating conventions that come from this expansion of voting. That's going to be another one, but we'll talk about those a little bit later in the lesson. So first, we have three guiding questions with Chapter 12, Lesson 1. What new ways of campaigning appeared during the elections of 1824 and 1828? How did Andrew Jackson make the American political system more democratic? And how did a fight over tariffs become a debate about states' rights versus federal rights? These tariffs are going to be very important moving forward in this course. In fact, they're going to be one of the main causes of the Civil War. So why don't we start with some key vocabulary? So first we have favorite sons. So favorite sons, these are simply candidates for national office that have support mostly from their home state. So these are regional candidates that make it popular on the national scene, but most of their support comes from their home state. Now today, this is a little more difficult because the country is much larger today than it was in the early 1800s. Next, plurality. So a plurality is the largest number of something, but it's less than a majority. That takes us to the majority. So a majority is greater than half of the total number of something. So this is going to be very important. The election of 1824, no one candidate's going to receive a majority of votes. Andrew Jackson will win the plurality. So when there's no majority, the U.S. House of Representatives are going to have to determine who the victor is. All right, so little graphic here to help us understand majority versus plurality. See the pie chart there with the two choices, we see the blue is definitely the majority. It's more than half. Whereas in the other pie chart, we see that pink color, that is a plurality. So they have the most out of the choices, but it's not a majority. All right, so the next key vocabulary word is kind of a fun word, mudslinging. No, it's not what you're doing because you've been at home for 3 weeks going outside after it rains. It's actually a political vocabulary term where it's a method that uses gossip and lies to make an opponent look bad. So mudslinging started around 1828 on the national scene in that election, and it's still used today. Believe it or not, you're going to see lots of different political advertisements between now and the next presidential election, and there will be mudslinging. All right, next we have bureaucracy. So a bureaucracy, part of government in which specialized tasks are carried out by appointed officials rather than elected ones. So the United States is a democracy, a representative democracy, a republic. Not everyone in the government, though, that works in the government is elected. Some people are just appointed to those positions. And there's going to be a big kind of change in how this is done with Andrew Jackson's election. Next, the spoil system. I don't want to spoil it. Hopefully, I didn't foreshadow too much with that last bullet, but this is the practice of handing out government jobs to your supporters. They replaced government employees with the candidates of the winning supporters. So whenever a new person wins, they replace the people in the government with some of their supporters. So to the victors goes the spoils, right? The spoils go to the victors. All right, so then we have nominating convention. So this is going to be a big change from when Andrew Jackson was the president. So this is a meeting in which representative members of a political party choose candidates to run for important elected offices. This is going to be different than um, caucuses, which had been used before that. All right, so let's talk about some of the content here. We've gotten past the vocabulary. We have new parties emerging. So first, the election of 1824, very important election in American history, one of the defining elections. One, because there was no majority. So if there's no majority, what happens is the U.S. House of Representatives determines who will be the next president of the United States. So there were actually four different candidates that wanted to be president of the United States in 1824. No one won the majority. But Andrew Jackson, he won the plurality. So he had the most votes, but he didn't have a majority. So the U.S. House of Representatives chose, and they chose John Q. Adams. And this is kind of known as the corrupt bargain because Adams became president of the United States, and it's believed that he promised certain positions like Secretary of the State to his supporters in return for support so that he could become the next president of the United States. All right, next, we have the election of 1828. So after 4 years of John Quincy Adams, who's the son of the second president, John Adams, we have another election coming, election of 1828. So we see a big split in the Democratic Republican Party. And with this split, there's going to be differing ideas. So Andrew Jackson, he's going to be one of the main people from the Democratic Republicans, and then John Quincy Adams. Oh, this is starting to sound kind of familiar with these two running for office, and they're going to have different ideas about the direction of the United States. Well, and it's also going to be one of the first modern elections, what we would really kind of consider real modern because of the mudslinging, the kind of negative attacks on the other using gossip, like we talked about as the definition. They were also using buttons, all kinds of slogans. So this, you would really kind of recognize this as a modern election. So the election of 1828 is going to be Andrew Jackson who wins. It's going to be Old Hickory. So the Democratic part of the Democratic Republicans, they kind of believe in states' rights, a weaker federal government. The Republicans, the Republican part of the Democratic Republicans, John Quincy Adams, he believed in a stronger federal government. He believed in the national bank. He believed in internal improvements, building roads and building bridges, those kinds of deals. So Jackson is going to win the election of 1828. And when he becomes president, his policies are going to help shape the United States at that time and also to today. So Andrew Jackson, he was a patriot, self-made man, war hero. He also believed in equal protection and equal benefits for all Americans, not just that aristocracy, not just the elites and the wealthy. So he also replaced caucuses with nominating conventions. So caucuses were just kind of party leaders that would kind of get together and decide who the candidate was going to be. And this makes sense that he got rid of those because of what happened to him in the election of 1824 with the corrupt bargain. He also started the spoil system where he gave government jobs to people that supported him. All right, so the tariff debate there. So first, we know tariffs are taxes on imports. So taxes on imports, those cause prices to rise. So this is going to be a big problem in the United States in the 1800s, and that's going to be one of the causes of the Civil War. So tariffs were placed on goods from other countries to help protect American producers. But what happens is it causes the price of stuff to go up. So the people that have to pay higher prices, they don't like that. So we start to see regional differences here. So we see it causing division. The Northerners are going to support the tariffs. Southerners are going to oppose the tariffs. So South Carolina, one of those southern states, is going to pass the Nullification Act, where they're going to say, no, we're not going to pay it. You can't force us to pay it. This is going to anger Andrew Jackson. He's not going to want his power challenged. So Congress passes this force bill. The force bill gives the President of the United States the ability to use the military to enforce federal law. Once again, that confirms that the Constitution, the federal government, supreme law of the land. So we start to see this big split along the lines of tariffs. We know eventually the Civil War is going to be coming in this course, and that the main cause will be differences over states' rights. We could even kind of connect the ideas about tariffs to states' rights. So if the South is going to be have tariffs placed on cotton, that's going to be affecting slavery as well. All right, so what are some of the main ideas from this chapter 12, lesson 1? No one won the majority in the election of 1824, and this is going to really begin to split the Democratic Republican Party because of what happens and how the president is selected. Election of 1828, that party is split after that. So it officially happens after the election of 1828. We'll see Jackson shaping the political system with the spoil system, with the nominating conventions, and then also he's going to expand voting for people as well. And then the tariffs, those ideas of tariffs, who benefits from those tariffs, who loses from those tariffs, that's going to really start to divide the nation as well. All right, if you have any questions, email me. Go to Google Classroom and complete the Chapter 12.1 digital worksheet. After you complete the digital worksheet, be sure to check your answers so you can make sure you fully understood the section. If at any time you have any questions, please email me. Thanks. Good luck.